On the day she announced her retirement from the entertainment industry, Sergio was photographed coming and going with the rumored love of his youth. People online mocked her. Even the most beautiful rose was nothing more than someone else's backdrop. Later, I left the capital, and by coincidence, Sergio attended the premiere event for his first love's new movie. A reporter asked him, "Miss Lee has withdrawn from acting and retired from the industry. We heard she went home for an arranged marriage?" Sergio let out a scoff, yet his expression remained certain. She wouldn't. 20-year-old Charlotte Lee truly wouldn't have. But the Charlotte Lee of today was 27. Life is only 30,000 days long. It was time for me to run toward the person who loves me. And the person I love. Chapter 1. Give the female lead role in this drama to Lara. I don't want to repeat myself a second time. Do you have a problem with that? Sergio's voice was cold. Maybe because he was irritated. The knife and fork in his hand scraped harshly against the plate, producing a piercing sound. My throat tightened, and I forcefully held back the tears threatening to fall. The phone on the table kept vibrating nonstop. When I left the private room to answer it, I happened to run into Lara, who was about to push the door open. She looked at me with a bright smile. "I heard it's your birthday today. Sergio asked me to come celebrate with you." Around her neck was the gemstone necklace Sergio had spent a fortune on at an auction 2 days ago. Beautiful and painfully dazzling. I nodded and walked past her, finding somewhere quiet. The moment the call connected, my brother's lazy yet caring voice came through. "Happy birthday, superstar. Grandpa's back in the country. You should prepare yourself mentally." The arranged marriage probably. The marriage arrangement had been decided years ago between my grandfather and his old war comrade. After Grandpa fell ill and went abroad for treatment, no one mentioned it again until now. Lowering my eyes, I interrupted my brother softly. "Brother, I agree to the arranged marriage. I know the Ning family has a lot of rules. I'll settle my matters as soon as possible, and then retire from the industry." Chapter 2. When I returned to the private room, Lara was already sitting intimately beside Sergio. In front of her was the steak Sergio had just cut for her. "Charlotte, Sergio said you're willing to give me the role in Song Like. I know Song Like may not mean that much to you, but for me, it's a crucial step in making a comeback." "Charlotte, thank you." Her tone was perfectly measured. I couldn't hear much gratitude in it, but I could hear overwhelming smugness. I pursed my lips, about to speak, when Sergio cut in first. "Why thank her? It's just one movie. Besides, you were more suitable for it from the start." The indulgence and affection in Sergio's eyes were blatant and undisguised. Suddenly, my brother's earnest warning echoed in my ears. "Charlotte, Sergio isn't the right man for you. I may sound blunt, but if a man doesn't respond and refuses to make things public, it means he doesn't love you enough." It wasn't that he didn't love me enough. He simply didn't love me at all. My brother had only been trying to spare my dignity. I suppressed the uncontrollable ache in my chest and forced a smile. "Director Justin personally invited me to star in this movie. I don't have the authority to give the role away. You should know that no one can interfere with Director Justin's casting decisions." Sergio glanced at me, his tone incomparably indifferent. "Then quit the project." Chapter 3. 7 years since my debut. From low-budget productions to the big screen, Sergio had practically watched me grow every step of the way. More than anyone else, he knew that Director Justin's Song Like would be a milestone in my career. But now, it suddenly didn't seem that important anymore. It wasn't that the movie wasn't important. It was that Sergio was no longer important. I stayed silent for a long time, until Sergio's impatient voice rang out. "Do you have a problem with that?" I curled my lips into a self-mocking smile. "No problem." Before returning to the private room, I called Director Justin to apologize. He tried again and again to persuade me otherwise. For this movie, I had spent 3 years in a theater troupe desperately honing my acting skills. Only after hearing that I was preparing to get married did he finally fall silent. Sergio's brows furrowed ever so slightly, as though he hadn't expected me to give in so easily. "Charlotte, stop throwing a tantrum. I've already picked out a few scripts that suit you. In a few days, you can choose one." A slap followed by a piece of candy. Ever since Lara returned, Sergio had been using this exact method to take away almost all of my opportunities. If Lara wanted something, I had to give it up. back when our arguments were at their worst. I once asked him, "What if one day she wants me to give you up to her too?" Sergio had answered, "She wouldn't." Only now did I finally begin to understand what he meant. She wouldn't. Not because he wouldn't give himself to her. Chapter 4. When we left the restaurant, the first snow of the year had begun falling over the capital. Sergio took off his coat and naturally draped it over Lara's shoulders. I only glanced at it once before looking away. Sergio coughed awkwardly and started explaining. "Lara's health isn't. It's fine. My car's here. I'll head off first." The nanny van slowly stopped in front of the three of us, followed by a familiar sports car behind it. I smiled and interrupted Sergio. Somehow, I felt calmer than before. Just as the car door opened, Lara suddenly called out to me, "Charlotte, let's go together. Let Sergio drive you home. You helped me so much, so I should properly thank you." She playfully nudged Sergio. "What kind of boyfriend are you? You don't even know to take your girlfriend home. You're still just as clueless as when you dated me back then." Sergio looked at Lara, his eyes overflowing with a gentleness I had never once received from him. "No need. I'll take you home first." He accepted the car keys from the valet, never looking at me even once from beginning to end. Lara continued stubbornly, sounding exactly like lovers teasing each other. "I've told you so many times already, girlfriends need to be pampered." "Sergio, do you even take anything I say to heart?" As the car door closed, I let out a soft laugh. It wasn't just her words. He had taken her to heart too. Chapter 5. Lara was Sergio's first love. In the 3rd year after we got together, he accidentally called out Lara's name while drunk. She was a Best Actress winner who had reached the peak of fame the moment she debuted. Then one day, she suddenly retired from the industry and went abroad, disappearing without a trace. That night, I barely slept at all. When Sergio sobered up, he pulled me into his arms and confessed everything honestly. Back then, I didn't understand what love was. Even if we met again now, all I'd feel toward her is guilt. So they met again. I didn't know what happened between them. I only knew that afterward, Sergio became even more generous toward me. He threw resources at me like money meant nothing. He said he loved watching me act in movies, loved seeing me stand confidently in front of the camera. Just like when I was 20, on the day of my very first audition, as one of the investors, Sergio had pushed aside all objections and insisted that I play the female lead. Later, that movie became a surprise hit. My manager brought me to a business dinner filled with men and told me to properly thank the film's investors. I didn't know my drink had been spiked. Just when panic completely overwhelmed me, Sergio suddenly pushed open the door and walked in. That night, we did everything we should have done, and everything we shouldn't have. The love at first sight I'd felt during the audition crashed over me like a flood, and I fell completely. Later, Sergio promoted me, just like how he was promoting Lara now. Chapter 6. I went back to the apartment Sergio had given me. Ever since Lara returned, Sergio rarely came here anymore. On the occasional visit or two, it was always because he had taken away my schedules and resources. He would tell me to wait for him in the apartment. Then after hearing me personally say, "It's okay," he would hurry off again. But today, he probably wasn't coming. Before heading to the apartment, I asked property management to send over a few larger cardboard boxes. With music playing, I slowly began packing up the things inside the apartment. One by one, I removed the photographs displayed in the glass cabinet. Sergio never liked taking pictures with me. Most of the photos we had together were official promotional shots from business events we attended side by side. Yet I had still treasured them like priceless possessions. By the time I finished packing the boxes, Sergio had already emailed me several scripts. Then he sent me another message. "I'll be away on a business trip for the next half month. I probably won't reply to messages promptly. Once you've chosen a script, contact my assistant directly. Happy birthday. Good night." I tugged at the corner of my lips but didn't reply. Before leaving the apartment, I deleted my fingerprint from the door lock system. I also left the key and access card on the tray by the entryway cabinet. The property staff member on night duty hesitated before asking, "You don't want any of these anymore?" I don't. I'll have to trouble you to help dispose of them. Thank you." Chapter 7. On the day Song Like officially announced its cast lineup, Sergio, who was away on a business trip, rarely took the initiative to call me. None of those scripts satisfied you? My assistant said you still haven't contacted him. There was little emotion in his voice. My brother lounged lazily in the passenger seat. The moment he heard Sergio's voice, his brows lifted in visible displeasure. I'm not taking any projects for now. I have other plans. I'm driving. I'll hang up first. Sergio didn't say anything, but before the call ended, a soft female voice came clearly through the car speakers. Is Charlotte still upset about Songlike? Sergio, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I took a deep breath and met my brother's probing gaze. Brother, I can handle the contract termination myself. Don't worry. Because of Sergio's influence, most of the business clauses in my contracts heavily favored me. Even if I breached them, the consequences wouldn't be too severe. If anything happens, call your brother. Drop me off at the next intersection. I'm going to see Vin. My brother nodded, but his words suddenly stopped halfway. Awkwardly, he shifted his gaze toward the window outside. Vincent just happens to be in the capital on a business trip. Once you finish handling things here, we'll head back to South City together. Chapter 8. Even after I finalized all of my contract terminations, Sergio still seemed completely unaware. In the past, whenever there was even the slightest change around me, he would always find out immediately, afraid I might suffer even the smallest grievance. On the day I decided to retire from the entertainment industry, I had even worried that Sergio would try to stop me. After drafting the official retirement post for Weibo, I smiled faintly. I had overthought it, and somehow, I felt relieved. An ambiguous beginning, a clean and decisive ending. The post was scheduled to publish automatically. When I came out of the shower, several missed calls were waiting on my phone. Some were from my parents. Some were from friends in the industry. Others were from producers and directors I'd worked well with before. My brother's call came in at that exact moment. His voice hurried. You home? Is it convenient? I'm coming over right now. It wasn't until my brother showed up at my door drenched in sweat that I realized the trending searches had exploded. Photos of Sergio and Lara entering and leaving hotels and tourist attractions together overseas had been leaked online. Coincidentally, I had also just announced my retirement from the industry. Countless people mocked me online. Even the most beautiful rose was nothing more than another woman's backdrop. I stared at that highly liked comment on the screen, yet my heart remained strangely calm. Charlotte, are you okay? I've already had people start deleting the posts. Don't take it to heart. I wanted to say there was no need, but the Ning family was involved in politics. What I didn't care about, the Ning family might care about very much. And as for me, I truly didn't want to have anything to do with Sergio anymore. Chapter 9. Sergio only contacted me on the second day after returning to the capital. Most of the trending topics had already been taken down, including the one about my retirement announcement, whose popularity had been suppressed again and again. Sergio asked me to meet him at the apartment. When I arrived at the door, I hesitated over whether to enter the password before the door suddenly opened from the inside. He was still wearing leather shoes. His overcoat draped over his arm. It looked like he had just arrived too. He pinched the bridge of his nose, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Charlotte, why are you retiring? Have I spoiled you too much all this time? Or did you believe those rumors online about me and Lara? I told you already. I'm only making it up to her. I pressed my lips tightly together. In my mind, I tried hard to search for memories of him spoiling and indulging me. Before Lara came back, maybe he really had. I lifted my head and met Sergio's questioning gaze. I just want to rest for a while. I've been constantly filming these past few years. I'm tired. Grandpa's back in the country too, and there are a lot of things going on at home. I want to spend more time with my family. I never mentioned Lara. Before leaving the capital, I didn't want any more conflict with Sergio either, so I calmly told him about my plans for the near future, everything except the arranged marriage. Sergio visibly relaxed. He tried to take my hand, but I subtly avoided him. Walking past him, I headed toward the TV cabinet. The moment I opened the drawer to grab some cold medicine, Sergio's phone rang. He hurried away, his voice nearly cut off behind the closing door. I still have a meeting. I'm leaving first. Tell me when you're going back. I'll drive you there. Chapter 10. During my final days in the capital, I met up with several of my college roommates who had settled there permanently. When they asked about my future plans, they all looked a little emotional. You were one of the younger actresses with the highest chance of winning a Grand Slam, and now you're retiring just like that. Ruthless. I curved my lips into a smile and didn't hide the arranged marriage from them. Getting married is secondary. The main thing is going back home to fight my brother for the family inheritance. Everyone burst into laughter, but when I voluntarily brought up Sergio, their smiles gradually faded, their expressions turning serious. I didn't tell him about the arranged marriage. If he asks you guys, after thinking about it, Sergio probably wouldn't care enough to ask anyway. I shook my head and laughed softly at myself. Forget it, he probably won't ask you at all. That night, we drank at the bar until midnight. The gathering only ended when their husbands arrived one after another to pick them up. Standing outside the bar, the cold wind sobered me up considerably. I'd never been good at drinking. Back then, whenever I couldn't avoid a business dinner, Sergio would always say he'd come pick me up. But when the car arrived downstairs, it was always his assistant who opened the door and explained, "Miss Lee, Sergio's meeting hasn't ended yet, so he asked me to take you home first." Later, after Laura came back, as long as we attended the same dinner party, Sergio would always appear on time. Back then, he would even deliberately keep his distance from Laura, but I knew he wasn't there for me. Chapter 11. I was genuinely surprised when Sergio appeared at my doorstep, because I was leaving the capital the next day. The movers were busily carrying boxes in and out of the apartment. The moment Sergio stepped out of the elevator, his face darkened. "Why are you suddenly moving? You're still throwing a tantrum at me, aren't you?" I froze for a moment. Just as I was about to speak, Laura stepped out of the elevator behind him. She was wearing a fitted cheapao that accentuated her graceful figure even more. "Sergio, you're being too harsh." She shot him a reproachful glance, as though explaining things on my behalf. "Charlotte, I was the one who asked Sergio to bring me here." I glanced at the now empty living room and forced out a fairly polite smile. "I'm planning to go home and stay for a while. This apartment was rented in the first place, and the lease is almost up anyway, so I discussed it with the landlord and decided to return it. The furniture's already been moved out, so I won't invite you in." Back when I first came to the capital for university, my parents had bought me an apartment because they were worried I wouldn't adapt well to dorm life. Later, my roommates were all pretty nice, so I only moved in after I started acting to the outside world. Though, I'd always claimed I was renting it myself. The day I decided to leave, I contacted an agent and listed the apartment for sale. The ownership transfer had been finalized just 2 days ago. Sergio said nothing. His gaze remained fixed on my face, as though trying to study my emotions. After glancing around the empty living room, Laura finally spoke. "Tomorrow is the press conference for the first movie I filmed after my comeback. I wanted to invite you. Sergio originally said it would be enough to send you a message, but I thought it'd be better to tell you in person. You'll come, right, Charlotte?" Chapter 12. No, my flight is tomorrow. Only after signing the paperwork handed to me by the movers did I finally answer Laura. As expected of a Best Actress winner, Lara's eyes reddened almost instantly. She glanced at Sergio, her voice trembling faintly. "Charlotte, are you still blaming me? Sergio takes care of me because of our past. When I first met Laura, I could never keep my composure around her. The moment she mentioned her past with Sergio, I would bristle like a hedgehog with its spines raised. The gentler and more fragile she acted, the more unreasonable I appeared, and the more Sergio sided with Laura, the angrier I became. Later on, I tried my best to avoid seeing Laura altogether. Even when we attended the same events occasionally, I never took the initiative to greet her. I thought that would reduce the conflicts between us and lessen the arguments between Sergio and me. But I was wrong. She would always appear somehow, even on my birthday, when I had specifically told Sergio that I only wanted to celebrate with him alone. She still came. I took a step back, my tone so calm it was almost emotionless. "No, I also think song-like suits you very well. Otherwise, Director Justin wouldn't have agreed to cast you either." "Sergio, don't you think so?" Sergio's expression froze on his face. It took him a long while before he finally reacted. Chapter 13. When my brother came to pick me up for the airport, a man followed behind him. I figured that must be Vincent. He wasn't quite what I had imagined. He had a clean, sharp buzz cut, wore casual athletic clothes, and there was even a thin layer of calluses on the base of his thumb and across his palms. The moment he noticed my suitcase, he politely took it from my hand. "Let me, Miss Lee, welcome back to South City." He paused for a moment, his deep voice pleasantly low. My brother punched him lightly on the shoulder. "You'll carry my sister's luggage but not mine? You traitor blinded by beauty." For some reason, I suddenly blushed, even stumbling over my words a little. "Just call me Charlotte." Vincent nodded and repeated softly, "Charlotte." On the way to the airport, Sergio called me several times. I didn't answer. His earlier words suddenly echoed in my ears. "I'll drive you there when the time comes." I stared at the call history for a moment before casually opening my delivery notifications instead. After confirming the package had been signed for, I blocked Sergio's number. Before leaving, I had arranged for a package to be delivered to the front desk of the Coup Group headquarters. Inside was a simple breakup letter and a bank card. The amount in the account was enough to pay back the apartment Sergio had given me. There hadn't been enough time to deal with the apartment itself. Vincent glanced at me several times, clearly hesitating to speak. "I wasn't planning to hide it from you. He's my ex-boyfriend." "Well, I guess he counts as one now." Vincent laughed softly for a moment, then bent down to pick up the wallet I had accidentally dropped by my feet. Then he simply said, "Okay." Chapter 14. Before the plane even took off, Lara's movie press conference had already reached its final stage. Because of Sergio's investment and public appearance, combined with the trending scandal from a few days earlier, the reporters were aggressively firing questions one after another. Most of them revolved around Sergio and Lara's relationship, until one reporter suddenly brought me up. "We heard Miss Lee withdrew from acting and retired from the entertainment industry because she's returning home for an arranged marriage." "Sergio, may we ask whether this information is true?" Not just me. Even my brother's attention was drawn to the live stream interview playing on screen. Just as he was about to ask me about it, Sergio suddenly let out a cold scoff. He smiled carelessly, yet his voice was filled with absolute certainty. "Fake. She wouldn't." The moment Laura heard his answer, the smile on her face almost froze completely. I lowered my eyes, mimicking Sergio's tone. I murmured softly, "And why wouldn't I?" Back when Sergio and I were at our happiest, I had once jokingly threatened him. "Sergio, if you ever make me angry, I'll immediately go home, inherit the family fortune, and enter an arranged marriage." Sergio had laughed in disbelief, pinning me beneath him. He deliberately bit down on my lips as he questioned me again and again. "With who? HM?" Until I was forced to beg for mercy repeatedly. "With no one. I won't marry anyone else. I only want you." I let out a quiet laugh. Charlotte had finally grown up, and she had finally understood the meaning of birds of the mountains and fish of the sea were never meant to share the same path. Chapter 15. The moment I landed at South City Airport, I felt myself relax considerably, because I was constantly filming away from home year-round. I had rarely returned over the past few years. Even during the New Year holidays, I seldom came back, and on the rare occasions I did return, I could only stay for a day or two at most. My brother would often secretly call me superstar. Even if you don't want your brother anymore, you can't abandon mom and dad. They miss you terribly. Mom keeps calling out my baby girl every single day. Back then, whenever I came home, I would seize every chance to act spoiled. But now, I suddenly felt something closer to homesickness mixed with fear, until I saw my parents and grandfather all waiting in the airport lobby. My eyes instantly burned with tears. My quick steps gradually turned into a run. The moment I stopped in front of them, my tears finally spilled over uncontrollably. "Grandpa. Dad. Mom. I'm home. I'll stay in South City with all of you from now on, okay?" My mother patted my hand, her voice thick with emotion too. "It's enough that you're home. That's all that matters." By the time my brother walked over, I had already managed to compose myself again. Vincent followed behind him, pushing the luggage cart. When he saw my parents and grandfather, he greeted them naturally and familiarly. "Grandpa, uncle, auntie, My parents said Charlotte just came home, so your family probably has a lot to talk about. That's why I'll come visit properly in a few days instead. Chapter 16. Vincent only left after driving our family home. Right before he left, I stopped him. Brother Vincent, are you free tomorrow? I'd like to talk with you. A smile rippled through Vincent's eyes. Okay, I'll come pick you up tomorrow. Unlike Sergio, Vincent was already waiting outside my house early the next morning. The moment I fastened my seatbelt, he placed an exquisite glass cup into my hands. My mom got up early to make bird's nest and white fungus soup. The weather's cold, so warm your stomach first. I nodded and forced out a fairly bright smile. South City had changed a lot. After parking the car, Vincent took me around several lively areas of the city. At noon, he brought me to a private restaurant. When he pushed the menu toward me, I stared at it blankly for a long while. Back when I was with Sergio, I was almost always accommodating his tastes. I rarely even touched the menu myself. Whatever he ate, I ate. Sometimes, to maintain my figure, I simply wouldn't eat at all. Noticing my hesitation, Vincent quietly took the menu back and ordered several dishes himself. Without exception, every single one was my favorite. I looked at him in surprise. Did my brother tell you? Vincent shook his head. I remembered them from your vlogs before. I just wasn't sure whether your tastes had changed over the years. Chapter 17. The Ning family had always been involved in politics. But after retiring from the military, Vincent Ning went into business instead. Vincent was the youngest of his generation, so the Ning family indulged him in the end. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm your fan. You can continue doing the career you love. You don't need to have any concerns. When Vincent spoke, his eyes sparkled brightly. He was nothing like the tough, hardened image my brother had secretly described to me before. He looked at me seriously, emphasizing every single word. Charlotte, I hope you can be yourself. That entire night, Vincent's words echoed endlessly through my mind. Ever since I was little, I knew the Ning family had many rules. So naturally, I had assumed that being an actress wasn't an appropriate identity for the future granddaughter-in-law of the Ning family. But now Vincent was telling me that I could be myself, the same person I had been in those vlogs. Back in my early years after debuting, I loved filming vlogs to record and share my life and work. There were clips of me secretly ordering takeout for late-night snacks behind my manager's back. Videos of me starving and wailing dramatically from hunger. Moments where I spent an entire day suspended on wires just to overcome my fear of heights. Later, Sergio told me that as a public figure, I needed to pay attention to my public image and behavior. So I made all my vlogs private and never uploaded another one again. So that meant, I suddenly sat upright in bed, realization finally dawning on me. So Vincent had already been secretly following me all the way back then? Chapter 18. When Vincent's parents visited my home, they brought countless gifts with them. Ever since I agreed to the arranged marriage, both families had actually been quietly preparing for the wedding already. When my parents talked to me about it, 8 out of every 10 sentences were compliments about how considerate and attentive Vincent was. The living room instantly became lively and noisy. Mrs. Ning had a bold and carefree personality, completely different from the image I had always associated with the Ning family. Holding my hand, she slipped a jade bracelet onto my wrist. One glance was enough to tell it was extraordinarily valuable. Only later did I learn that the bracelet had been passed down through generations of the Ning family. Our Charlotte is so beautiful. No wonder that brat spent over 10 years pining after you. And in the end, he actually got his wish. Mrs. Ning's brows and eyes were filled with laughter, her happiness impossible to hide. Vincent Ning and I blushed almost at the exact same time. Vincent explained that Mrs. Ning had grown up in the north. Unlike the gentle and delicate temperament common in South City, Mrs. Ning would twist both his and Mr. Ning's ears whenever she got annoyed. And yet Grandpa Ning spoiled her the most. I smiled and nodded along. And for the first time, I genuinely started to think, maybe marrying Vincent wouldn't be bad at all. Just as my thoughts wandered, Grandpa Ning called me over to him. Vincent stayed close behind me every step of the way, as though worried his family might bully me. Grandpa Ning glared so hard his beard practically quivered with anger, yet his smile stretched uncontrollably across his face. Back then, I had always thought Grandpa Ning carried an imposing authority that made people fear him. But now, he only seemed lovable and warm. Our Charlotte is such a good girl. If Vincent ever dares bully you in the future, tell Grandpa immediately. I'll break his legs for you. I smiled and answered obediently. Okay. Chapter 19. The wedding was set for New Year's Day. There were less than 2 weeks left. I originally thought time would be too tight, and that we would only have enough time to buy ready-made wedding dresses from a boutique. But unexpectedly, Vincent had already secretly custom-made 2 dresses. When he took me to try them on, he deliberately didn't invite my brother along. Let's give your brother a surprise. I can already imagine the look on his face when he sees you in a wedding dress at the ceremony. I could imagine it too. In our family, my brother had always loved me the most. Vincent smiled softly and wrapped my hand inside his palm. Charlotte, thank you for being willing to marry me. Honestly, this feels like a dream. Not just for Vincent. It felt like a dream to me too. Only after I changed into the wedding dress did it truly hit me that I was really getting married. And I also realized that I hadn't thought about Sergio for a very long time now. I took a deep breath. Both time and I should keep moving forward. When I lifted the hem of my dress and stepped out, Vincent looked so nervous that he barely dared to look at me. His voice trembled slightly. Beautiful. Charlotte, you're so beautiful. For some reason, a strange emotion suddenly welled up inside me. I wanted to cry, yet laugh at the same time. Seeing Vincent standing there so helplessly flustered, my eyes instantly filled with tears that kept threatening to spill over, which only made Vincent even more nervous. I burst out laughing through my tears and, for the first time, took the initiative to hold his hand. You idiot. Vincent. Chapter 20. I personally handwrote all of our wedding invitations. I had practiced calligraphy for many years when I was younger, though I never expected it would become useful on a day like this. As the black ink spread slowly across the paper, Vincent wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. My body stiffened instantly before gradually relaxing again. I was slowly beginning to accept Vincent's love, and trying hard to adapt to it too. Sorry, I startled you. Vincent loosened his arms and stepped back slightly. When I turned around, I happened to meet his somewhat lonely gaze. I stepped closer to him, wrapped my arms around his waist, and rose lightly onto my tiptoes. It's okay. You can scare me more often. I'll get used to it. The clouds instantly cleared from Vincent's eyes, and his grin looked almost foolishly happy. I took the initiative to lean forward and lightly brushed my lips against his. Just as I was about to say something, Vincent suddenly tightened his hold around my waist, pulling me even closer against him. He kissed my lips, clumsy and unrestrained as he stole away my breath, until my brother suddenly burst into the study. Vincent! Charlotte! Vincent loosened his hold on me slightly and shot my brother an annoyed glare. Flustered, I hurriedly broke free from his embrace, turned around, grabbed the calligraphy brush, and scribbled nonsense across the paper. It looked like incomprehensible chicken scratch. During these days spent with Vincent, I had come to understand another truth as well. The truly breathtaking person may not appear early, but when they do arrive, the timing will be just right. Chapter 21. When Sergio realized he could no longer contact Charlotte, even his voice trembled with panic. First, he had his assistant check Charlotte's itinerary. Only after confirming that she had returned to South City did he finally relax a little. He assumed Charlotte was deliberately throwing a tantrum because he hadn't driven her to the airport himself. So he simply stopped looking for her. Things had always been like this before. Whenever he upset Charlotte, she would intentionally ignore him for several days. Then, once he found the right opportunity and coaxed her a little, everything would go back to normal. So this time, just like always, he waited for the right moment to give Charlotte a way out. But more than a month passed, and Charlotte still hadn't removed him from her blacklist. Until one day, his assistant brought in a package. Boss, during the front desk handover just now, they discovered a package Miss Lee sent you a month ago. For no reason at all. Sergio's eyelids twitched several times. He impatiently tore the package open. Inside was a bank card and a handwritten letter. The contents of the letter were painfully simple. If nothing unexpected happens, we probably won't see each other again. Sergio, I wish you peace and safety year after year. He ordered his assistant to check the balance on the bank card. 8 million. Suddenly, Sergio remembered that on Charlotte's birthday, she had once asked him how much the apartment was worth. At the time, He hadn't thought much about it and casually answered. 8 million. Sergio was so angry he nearly laughed on the spot. Grabbing his car keys, he rushed straight to the apartment. The moment he pushed the door open and saw the keys and access card left on the entryway cabinet, his throat inexplicably tightened. He walked through the living room and bedroom again and again. All the photos of him and Charlotte, all the dolls and figurines Charlotte had begged him to buy for her, every single one was gone. When he went to ask Charlotte's close friends about her, all of their responses were strangely identical. It was only then that Sergio finally seemed to realize he might really be losing Charlotte. Chapter 22. The next time I received a call from Sergio was 3 days before my wedding. His voice was cold as ice, laced with anger. Charlotte, there should be a limit to your childish games. You think leaving behind a breakup note and a bank card means we're really over? Do you even know that Before Sergio could finish speaking, Laura snatched the phone away. Her voice remained as gentle as ever. Charlotte, Sergio's been worried sick about you these past few days. He was too prideful to contact you himself, so I told him to call you using another number. I heard you're getting married soon. Is that true? Vincent had been the one who answered the phone. I was busy in the kitchen making a cake when he brought my phone over to me. Without thinking much, I told him to answer it. He casually turned on speakerphone as well. The moment my brother heard the voices, he was the first one to storm into the kitchen. Meanwhile, I continued carefully spreading cream over the cake, answering absent-mindedly. Yes. Is there something you need? If not, I'm hanging up. There was an obvious pause on the other end of the line. Then came the sound of something crashing to the floor. When Sergio spoke again, his voice was filled with disbelief. Charlotte, tell me, who are you marrying? You're 27 already, not 22 or 23. What kind of arranged marriage would choose someone? The more Sergio spoke, the harsher his words became. Before my brother could explode in anger and start cursing him out, I quickly interrupted. Yes, I'm 27, so I'm getting married now. Is there a problem with that, Sergio? Chapter 23. On the day of the wedding, my brother guarded the venue like a hawk. He was terrified that Sergio would come and cause trouble. And the truth was, Sergio really did come. He didn't go to the banquet hall. Instead, he barged straight into my dressing room. The tension that had risen in my chest instantly settled back down the moment I saw Laura standing behind him. I was seated before the vanity mirror while the makeup artist touched up my makeup. Sergio clenched his fists tightly, taking a long while before finally finding his voice again. Standing behind me, his gaze fixed on my reflection in the mirror. Charlotte, you're serious about this. You barely even know him. And you're marrying him? Do you love him? By the time Vincent arrived with several people behind him, Laura tugged gently on Sergio's sleeve. She lowered her voice to remind him softly. Sergio, stop causing trouble. Since Charlotte has decided to get married, shouldn't we just bless her instead? I truly hadn't expected Laura to follow Sergio all the way to South City, and I had never imagined that during all the time I'd been away from the capital, she and Sergio still hadn't officially gotten back together. Vincent walked to my side, facing Sergio directly. For the very first time, I sensed something dangerous about Vincent. He shielded me behind him, a trace of ruthlessness hidden beneath his calm tone. Mr. Sergio, is there some urgent matter that brings you to my wife? Back in earlier years, the Ning family's status in the capital had once been even higher than their current standing in South City. Later, the Ning family withdrew and returned to South City. From the look of it, Sergio clearly knew who Vincent was, because he suddenly let out a low laugh. Getting married is one thing, Mr. Ning, but stealing my girlfriend? What exactly is that supposed to mean? Chapter 24. Just as Vincent was about to throw a punch, my brother charged into the room, gripping a baseball bat. He swung it straight at Sergio, venting every ounce of resentment he had built up over the years. The color drained from Lara's face almost instantly. Sergio gritted his teeth, stubbornly refusing to make a sound no matter how badly he was hit. Only after my brother grew tired from swinging did Sergio brace himself against the floor and slowly stand up again, pain written all over his face as he looked at me. Charlotte, is this enough now? Come back with me, okay? Lara originally wanted to call the police, but Sergio's reaction was completely beyond anything she had expected. In the end, All she could do was cover her mouth tightly as tears streamed down her face. Stumbling out of the room in a panic. That's enough. Any more acting and it'll become embarrassing. I glanced at Sergio and mocked him coldly. Because of Sergio, I truly had very few scandals in the entertainment industry over the years, but the label of being kept had remained firmly attached to me the entire time. He had never acknowledged our relationship. No response, no public confirmation. Yet now, when our paths had already diverged completely, he suddenly admitted what we once were. Maybe he thought I would feel moved, confessing his deep feelings to me right in front of his first love, getting himself covered in injuries because of me. But all I felt was ridicule. As Vincent held my hand and led me out of the dressing room, Sergio was already surrounded by the people Vincent had brought with him. Vincent cast Sergio a cold glance and gave the order in an icy voice. Tie him up. Send him to the hospital after the wedding ceremony is over. Chapter 25. Sergio was practically forced to sit through the entire wedding ceremony between Vincent and me. The moment the ceremony ended, he was sent straight to the hospital again, and Vincent conveniently had him transferred to another hospital on the spot. The ambulance ride from South City back to the capital would take nearly 11 hours. After I changed into my second dress for the toast ceremony, Vincent pulled me aside and told me about it. His mood seemed a little gloomy. Meanwhile, I widened my eyes in shock. Mr. Ning, impressive. As expected of you. Vincent Ning pressed his lips together tightly. Then, will you be upset? Oh, he was jealous. I ignored Vincent and lifted my skirt as I walked toward the banquet hall. At the same time, I deliberately dragged out my tone dramatically. Oh no, this dress is so heavy. Is there any kind-hearted person willing to help me? Vincent immediately followed after me with a goofy grin. See? I told you Vincent was an idiot. Later, during the toast rounds, I unexpectedly spotted Director Justin. Vincent greeted him familiarly. I honestly thought you wouldn't come. Director Justin's gaze swept meaningfully across Vincent and me. When Charlotte quit the project saying she was getting married, I kept wondering who the lucky guy was. If I'd known it was you, there's no way I would have agreed to let her quit. Vincent lightly clinked his glass against Director Justin's. It's not too late. The next film is already booked. Director Justin took a sip of wine before turning his eyes toward me. There's a script that suits you even better than Songlike. Chapter 26. The movie director Justin mentioned was called Skin. The following autumn, Vincent accompanied me into the production crew. Songlike was also scheduled for release during National Day week. When we had some free time, Vincent and I went to the cinema together to watch it. In the end, Lara never got the role after all. News of her pressuring Sergio into marriage and getting rejected shot straight onto the trending searches and stayed there for days. Director Justin went to find Sergio. After the two of them reached an agreement, the actress was replaced. Perhaps because the scandal had become too ugly, Sergio's family forced him to withdraw all of his investments from the film industry. After Skin premiered, it became a massive hit, and because of that film, I finally achieved the Grand Slam Best Actress title. During an interview, a reporter asked me, "You once chose to retire from the entertainment industry, but later returned. Did something happen in between?" I looked toward Vincent in the audience, who was holding a camera pointed at me, and answered seriously. I met someone. He told me that I could be myself. And while I have this opportunity, there's also something I want to say to him. The truth is, the moment I had him, my life had already become a grand slam. That night, Vincent held me tightly in his arms and refused to let go no matter what. Only later did I find out. Sergio had attended the press conference that day too. Even after 3 years of marriage, Vincent still had an overwhelming sense of insecurity. I turned over and sat on his lap, leaning close to his ear as I repeated the words to him again and again. Vincent, you're not like Sergio, so be more confident. Charlotte loves you, and only you. Chapter 27. 5 years after our marriage, I accidentally found a journal in the study, one that had practically recorded my entire life. Every movie I had acted in, every event I had attended, every important moment, even the little preferences I casually mentioned in my vlogs had all been carefully remembered by him. As I flipped through the pages, my gaze stopped on the very first photograph. I looked only 3 or 4 years old in it. I was sitting on a set of stairs, holding a lollipop bigger than my own face. I had almost no memory of it. When Vincent walked into the study and saw what I was holding, he instantly looked nervous and flustered. "Mr. Ning, you really hid this deeply." "Huh?" Smiling softly, I slipped into his embrace. Later, Vincent finally told me the story behind that childhood photograph. When I was 3 years old, Grandpa had taken me to visit the Ning family. 6-year-old Vincent had coaxed me with an enormous lollipop. Then he asked little 3-year-old Charlotte, "Then will you marry me in the future?" 3-year-old Charlotte couldn't understand what marriage meant, but she wanted the candy. So in her tiny childish voice, she answered, "Okay." And because of that, the two families arranged our engagement. Everything had happened at exactly the right time. But there was one thing I never told Vincent. When I was surrounded by ashes, I saw a beam of light, and within that light, I happened to see him too.